everybody, thanks for joining me again. We're going to be looking very shortly at how to find information, or perhaps the types of information that you might like to use for the Get Organized box as part of your subject guide. The Get Organized box is likely going to be found on each of the individual strands within the subject guide template that you've copied for your ongoing subject guides. Thanks again to Julia Main, who's letting me use her grade 3 science guide as an example. Okay, so what I wanted to mention today was basically that the Get Organized box is simply an opportunity for us to recommend resources, tools, types of software, for example, that students may be able to use to help them organize their work. Things such as studying tips or studying help resources, organizational tools, and as such, I wanted to show you a few that I had found and give them to you as examples, as well as show you how you can do as it mentions here, and that's refer to the VLC assets as a possible place to locate these tools also. Okay, so the ones that I located are Bubble Us, and what this is a free mind mapping software or brainstorming software. As you can see here, essentially it allows students to create a free account and they can share it with classmates or whomever they like. And it allows them to create mind maps online that can then be saved and used in other documents later if they so wish. I also wanted to recommend this software called Pictou Chart. And essentially this is just one of many different kinds of software that people can use. There's a free version, however there's also the upgraded version, which is not the one that I'm recommending. And it's to create infographics. And essentially, if you're not familiar with infographics, they're a relatively new form of documentation, I guess you could say, that pictorially represents data. So it's a really visual way that students can present their data that they may be using for their science class in this case. And then the last one is what they call StudyBlue. It's flashcards. And so this is really helpful tool that students may choose to use if they are trying to memorize terms or quiz themselves. Okay, so those are the three that I'm going to recommend based on what I found. However, now what I'm going to show you is how I went to the VLC assets to recommend tools. And to do that, I simply click on the eye up here to preview. And you'll see that the header appears with the tab that says Games and Databases. So I'm going to click on Games and Databases. And then as I'm not looking for a resource or a database that has anything to do with a particular subject, it's more about the type of tool that I'm looking for, I'm going to go under All Database Types and scroll down to where it says Software Resources. And here's a list of software resources that have been entered as assets. And from here, I may decide that there are, for example, Gizmo Science. It says that it's for high school, so it may not be appropriate for grade 3, but there are various different types of tools that are available here that you could choose to use and input into the Get Organized box. And again, please don't be afraid to reuse this box on each of your strands. So you are more than welcome to recommend a minimum of at least 2 tools and then map that box onto each of these strands. You may find, based on the subject that's being covered, particularly in math, for example, that there are individual tools that may pertain to one strand of the curriculum more so than another. For example, the geometer's sketchpad. You may find those students that are doing geometry in a particular strand of the curriculum would want that tool, whereas in other areas they would not. So you have to use your personal professional judgment in what tools are appropriate for what strand. However, if they're relatively generic, such as any of the ones I have up here, then you could definitely reuse those on each of the strands. Alright, so that's all I have for you today, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks!